Hello there, you're now watching TVS News at 5. I'm Hari Zainuddin, your anchor, ready to bring you the latest updates. Let's begin with our highlights for today. The August House today has passed the bill to amend the federal constitution in line with the provisions in the Malaysia Agreement MA 63, surpassing a two-third majority.
49 senators voted in favor of the bill in a block voting after the second and third reading, while 5 others were absent. Senate President Tan Sri Dr. Rais Yatim said the block voting was done as Article 159 of the Federal Constitution stated that such a bill shall not be passed unless it has been supported on the second and third readings by the votes of not less than 2/3 of the total number of members of the Senate. He said no senators voted against the bill on both readings. On December 14, the bill was passed at the Dewan Rakyat, also with more than 2/3 majority.
Sarawakians, together with their spouse and families returning from abroad, will be quarantined at their first point of entry beginning today. Sarawak Disaster Management Committee (SDMC) today confirmed that returning Sarawakians would have to be quarantined at either KLIA 1 or KLIA 2 before they are allowed to return to the land of hornbills.
According to the statement made by SDMC today, the Sarawak State Liaison Office will be managing the quarantine centres, and any reservation for quarantine places can be made to the Liaison Office via the website shown on the screen. The reservation must be made within 7 to 10 working days before entering Malaysia. For non-Sarawakians, including long-term pass holders who want to travel into Sarawak via the Peninsular Malaysia, they are also required to be quarantined at KLIA 1 or KLIA 2, which would be managed by the Ministry of Health MOH.
Now, Sarawakians have been advised to make the necessary preparations for possible floods and landslides. This was due to the forecasted monsoon surge, thus causing continuous rain, especially along the western side of Sarawak.
In making the call, Malaysian Meteorological Department or MAT Malaysia Sarawak Director Hawari Hamdan said continuous rain and heavy rainfall are expected in the state. Hawari also advised members of the public to take these warnings seriously and to take the Selangor flood incident as a lesson for precautionary measures. This was in accordance to the recent flooding that hit parts of the central and east coast regions of Peninsular Malaysia. Earlier yesterday, MAT Malaysia stated that a monsoon surge is expected to occur from December 27 to 29 with continuous rain in the western part of Sarawak and eastern Sabah during the period. Hawari also added that there is also a possibility of continuous rain even after that period.
The acceptance rate of the COVID-19 vaccine booster dose in Malaysia has been satisfying. However, Deputy Health Minister Dr. Nur Azmi Ghazali said the majority of recipients chose to take a booster dose of the same type of vaccine as their first and second primary dose.
He said, based on the questionnaire entitled Perceptions of Booster Dosage among the Malaysian Population by the Clinical Research Institute on October 15 to 26, 76.2% of respondents agreed to take a booster dose, and of the total, only 39.9% agreed to a different or heterologous type of vaccine with primary dose. He was responding to a question from Senator Datuk Teo Eng Tee, who wanted to know the main reason most people did not attend the COVID-19 booster injection and the ministry's efforts in tackling the slow uptake. However, Dr. Nur Azmi said the Ministry of Health or MOH expected the rate of booster dose to increase as the DCA had approved Sinovac's Coronavac vaccine and AstraZeneca vaccine to be used as booster doses on November 17, thus enabling homologous doses to be implemented. Responding to the main reason why most people did not favor booster injections, he said this was because they had yet to get clear information. According to him, the results of the questionnaire also found that only 48.8% stated that they had enough information about the booster dose.
TVS membawakan kepada anda tayangan filem khas bersempena Hari Krismas. Sebuah kisah romantis antara dua insan yang masing-masing memiliki sejarah hitam dalam hubungan percintaan. Berbagai konflik merumitkan hubungan mereka untuk diteruskan. Dapatkah mereka memperoleh penghujung yang bahagia? Jangan terlepas untuk menyaksikan Winter in Tokyo, Sabtu 25 Disember 9.30 malam, istimewa di TVS saluran 122 Astro dan My TV. Selamat menyambut Hari Krismas daripada TVS.
Pusat Ekonomi Digital Keluarga Malaysia atau PADI menyediakan kesaling hubungan dan penyokong ekonomi digital komuniti setempat. PADI akan memperkasa dan melatih masyarakat untuk celik digital dan membuka peluang pekerjaan serta meningkatkan pendapatan melalui platform e-dagang dan dalam talian. Puan Eri memulakan perniagaan dengan memasarkan produk tempatan berasaskan tuhau, iaitu sejenis tumbuhan herba yang digemari oleh etnik Sabah.
Sebelum ini, saya menjalankan perniagaan saya secara offline. Tapi selepas saya menyertai kelas keusahawanan, saya mula memasarkan produk saya secara online. Dan saya telah berjaya meningkatkan pendapatan dari 2 angka ke 4 angka sebulan.
Anda juga berpeluang untuk meningkatkan perniagaan anda. Kunjungi PADI yang berdekatan anda sekarang. Bersama kita perkasakan ekonomi era digital.
Welcome back. And now on to some updates on the flood situation in Peninsular Malaysia. A total of 37 fatalities and 10 missing person reports were received in flood-affected regions throughout Malaysia as of last night. Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Akril Sani Abdullah Sani said from the total, 5 deaths were reported in the past 24 hours involving 4 adults and 1 child, while 2 victims are still missing.
Sehingga kini, sejumlah 68,341 mangsa-mangsa banjir yang direkodkan yang berada di pusat pemindahan sementara di seluruh negara, melibatkan 18,080 keluarga. Jadi setakat ini sejumlah 7 negeri secara khususnya telah terkesan dengan bencana banjir ini, iaitu di Perak, di Kuala Lumpur, di Selangor, Negeri Sembilan, Melaka, Pahang dan di Kelantan. Dan setakat ini mengikut maklumat yang kita terima, Negeri Pahang merupakan antara yang paling terkesan teruk dengan bencana banjir pada kali ini.
In this regard, he said 137 roads were still closed due to floods so far, involving 4 states with 120 locations in Pahang, 2 locations in Negeri Sembilan, 3 locations in Kelantan, and 12 locations in Selangor. Apart from that, based on information from the Department of Irrigation and Drainage, as at 2:30 a.m., 23 locations of rivers were placed under danger and warning levels. The danger level involved 13 locations with 9 rivers in Pahang, on each in Selangor and Johor, and 2 in Kelantan. While the rivers with warning levels were 1 each in Selangor and Johor and 2 each in Pahang, Kelantan, Melaka and Sarawak.
And now on to some recent updates on flight MH17. Dutch prosecutors said 3 Russians and a Ukrainian were fully responsible for shooting down Malaysia Airlines flight MH17 over eastern Ukraine in 2014 and should be charged guilty of murder. The men, all of whom remain at large, could face sentences of up to life imprisonment if found guilty of helping to supply the missile system used by Russian-backed rebels to fire a rocket at the passenger jet as it flew from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur. Prosecutor Thijs Berger told judges that the 4 suspects together are fully responsible for shooting down flight MH17, which caused the death of the 298 people on board. In the second day of presenting their closing arguments, the prosecution said the evidence showed that the suspects, Russians Oleg Pulatov, Sergei Dubinsky, and Igor Girkin, and Ukrainian Leonid Karchenko, pulled the strings in the area where MH17 was shot down. The 4 were identified by a special international joint investigative team that looked into the crash of flight MH17 and were later named by Dutch prosecutors. According to prosecutors, the men, who are all linked to Russian-backed rebel groups, made the shooting down of MH17 possible by arranging for a Russian-made Buk missile to be brought to the area. Under Dutch law, it does not matter that the suspect did not ultimately pull the trigger, because someone who makes someone else commit a crime can be convicted as a perpetrator of that crime, prosecutors said. A sentencing demand is expected on Wednesday at the end of the 20-month trial. Now, Permodalan Nasional Berhad's wholly owned unit trust management company, Amanah Saham Nasional Berhad ASNB, has declared an income distribution payout of 5 cents per unit for its flagship unit trust fund, Amanah Saham Bumiputra, or ASB, for the financial year ending December 31st, 2021. The payout comprised an income distribution of 4.25 cents per unit, as well as a bonus payment of 0.75 cents, totaling 8.9 billion ringgit, which will benefit 10.4 million ASB unit holders, bringing the fund's total cumulative income distribution and bonus to 168.5 billion ringgit since it was first introduced in 1990.
Group Chairman Tun Arifin Zakaria said ASB's performance continues to be competitive compared to other low-risk investment instruments, and ongoing efforts to diversify and enhance the portfolio have generated excellent outcomes. In a virtual ASB dividend announcement today, Arifin said ASB performed well despite the backdrop of uncertain financial markets as well as a worldwide economic recovery hampered by the introduction of new COVID-19 variants and an increase in new cases throughout the year. Meanwhile, PNB President and Group Chief Executive Ahmad Zulkarnain On, in his performance briefing, said, despite the challenging environment, it was encouraging to see the growing number of Malaysians investing with PNB, as well as the increase in the size of investments. He said ASB's number of accounts increased by almost 200,000 to 10.4 million accounts, while units in circulation rose 7.4 billion, or 4.3%, to 181.2 billion units. ASB transaction is suspended from December 23 until January 2, 2022 for dividend distribution and will reopen on January 3, 2022.
And that wraps up the 5 p.m. English news for today. Before I go, on behalf of TVS, I would like to express my heartfelt condolences to our Chief Minister Datuk Patinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg on the passing of his beloved sister Dayang Mastijah Tun Abang Openg, who passed away at her residence last night. Once again, I'm Hari Zainuddin. I'll see you next time.